I now have a series of questions that are all related, and I'm going to kind of combine them. I'm going to still ask you to limit it to 2 minutes because we got about 20 minutes left, and we have some more questions we want to get to. But here are 3 or 4 things all related. And first, for the audience, so if we use this acronym or this abbreviation, you'll know what we're talking about. But NGSS stands for the Next Generation Science Standards. And that's just a fancy way of saying the next round of national science standards. We passed the current national standards, which are the basis for our state standards in science. We passed them, they were written in 1996. So 16 years later, there's a national movement. It's sponsored by the National Research Council, which is an arm of the National Academies of Science. It's sponsored by the American Association for the Advancement of Science and the National Science Teachers Association. And they've got a national committee. There are 26 lead states. Kansas is one of them. We've got recommendation committee that's making recommendations to the National Writing Committee. So that's what, if they talk about Next Generation Science Standards or NGSS, that's what we're talking about. Those standards should be completed in early 2013. That's the current plan. So here's a series of questions. You have 2 minutes. All right. So what is your view on the appropriate or on the potential adoption of the Next Generation Science Standards as our state science standards? Related to that, several people have asked about your personal views on whether or not evolution or creationism should be taught as part of our state science standards, and it's somewhat related, but to what extent should your personal spiritual beliefs guide your decisions as a state board member voting for regulations for all the children of Kansas? And I have no idea whose turn it is. So, Cindy, I'm going to just hand it to you.
Yeah, 2 minutes as best you can.
Thank you. I would totally agree with staying with evolution as part of the science curriculum. And that pretty much says it all. As far as the science standards are concerned, it's what's not included in those standards that we have to look at. And I ran off some information because I wanted to give you the complete wording and the proper definitions. NGSS does not prescribe teaching models. The standards are not in the curriculum. The standards are not test specifications. And the standards are not a checklist. Instead, NGSS is about content standards and performance expectations. That's how our math programs are designed, our English programs are designed, and that gives us the ability to have local control in which districts can create the curriculum that's best. State Board of Education, the umbrella, the guidelines.
You made it in 2 minutes.
Thank you.
And we have a great state here, unlike other states that have a State Board of Education that tell science teachers what book they're going to use. We don't do that in Kansas. We indeed do have local control. I would like to see flexibility as much as possible. And so, like our campaign slogan, better schools, fewer rules, we're going to have standards. And the more we can welcome our very best teachers into the classroom, whether they come from colleges of education or industry or some combination thereof, the better educational service we're going to provide. As much as possible, I want local folks making local decisions as much as possible under the umbrella of general standards with respect to evolution. I'll go with my church. I'm Roman Catholic. They have accepted evolution as fundamentally part of science. It makes sense. Evolution makes sense. There was a time when my church was against it. And so old habits die hard. And that's one of the things that I want to bring to the board, is an idea that we don't have to just do things because that's the way they're done. We can think outside the box. And so as the internet changes, as society changes, I want as much oversight with the umbrella as is appropriate from Topeka. But just as we have to pull things back from the federal government, we need to pull things out of Topeka and let local schools do as much as they can. I will say this: if a local school district wanted to teach creationism or intelligent design, I'd have to be against that because it's not science. I mean, I hope you can appreciate that running for this office as a conservative Republican, I've alienated a whole lot of folks by saying evolution makes sense. And if we're going to talk about our religious history, we're going to talk about God, that's for social studies. That's for history class. The reason we don't put intelligent design into science is because it's not science.